Hi guys, welcome to our episode 3 of our Dive Master kit reviews. Today we're going to be talking about SMBs. We've got two different SMBs to talk about. So we're going to talk about our one breath SMBs that we traditionally use for training or in places that we don't really need to signal the surface team all as much for kind of practice. So like in the quarries, or if we are diving abroad where the swell isn't so much, we can use these SMBs. And then we're going to be looking at our bigger SMBs, so what we'd use in the UKC or when we're diving in big swell seas to allow better visibility for the skippers to come and pick us up when we're diving. So we'll kick off with our one breast SMBs. So the first SMB we're going to be looking at is the Scuba Force Tech SMB. As we can move over to here, you can see we've got the nice big Scuba Force logo on there, so it's easy enough for you to tell if you've got different SMBs between the team, you know which one's yours a little bit easier. On this SMB, we've got our bungee loop on here to allow us to roll up the SMB and keep it all nice and compact, ready to go in our pocket of our dry suit, or if it's clipped on the side of the wing, and it's all nice and compact, ready to go in there. As we unravel the SMB, as you can see on the bottom, we have a little small stainless steel D-ring that allows us to put our line through or clip a double ender on there to clip it off in our pockets or clip it off somewhere on a D-ring for attaching the SMB. As we move up, we've got the Orley inflation inflator. As you can see, this section here, we can either use that to Orley inflate like it is in the name, and we can also connect a low pressure inflator onto there. It's also got no groove on there, so the low pressure inflator won't stick on there, so as soon as it's inflated it will just pop off and then off it goes to the surface. It's also got an OPV on there, which is a dump cord, so we can manually let air out of the SMB, so when we're at the surface and we just roll it back up, as we're rolling it up we can manually let the air out, and it also acts as an overpressure valve for the SMB. So on the way up, if there's been too much gas put in it at the bottom, as that gas expands on the way up, it then can just burst out the side of that, actually bursting the SMB itself. So this SMB in length is 1.2 meters long, and the width of it is 12 centimeters, and it has a lift of 4.3 kilos. So we've got quite a lot of lift for a small SMB on there. It's also available in yellow and orange, so we can have the orange as we have it in the UK is our normal SMB, and then the yellow what we'd use in an emergency. And these roll up quite nice and small, ready to go in a dry suit pocket or be clipped off on the side. Roll that back up. Move that one over there. The next SMB we're going to talk about is the Apex 1.4 meter SMB. So this is a bit of a new boy to the market. It's not been on the market long. We've been using it for the past couple of months. It's a pretty nice SMB. Got some nice features on here. So as you can see on the bungee loop itself, we've got a little tab on there to help us when we're using dry gloves, so we haven't got to try and stuff our finger underneath in between the SMB and the bungee to try and get the bungee off. So you've got that nice little tab on there that helps you do that. As we come to the bottom of the SMB, we've got a really nice big D-ring on there. So that makes life a little bit easier. When we are attaching our SMBs underwater, we can either drop your bolt snap straight through, and with it being nice and big, you ain't got to really fiddle around, you can just kind of drop it straight through. Whereas the other kind of SMBs that we have, with the Scuba Force and the next one we're going to talk about, we've got quite a small D-ring on there. So trying to pass that bolt snap through there, as you can see, is a little bit more of a task. And obviously you've got a smaller area that you do that in. As we come up the SMB, this SMB has only got an oral inflation nipple. Unfortunately, it's kind of a bit of an off-put for us here, as we are open circuit and rebreather divers. So that only limits us to orally inflate the BCD. And when we're on a rebreather, it's not really the most amazing thing we want to do, as that involves us coming off the loop and using the gas in the rebreather to inflate the SMB. We hope that Apex in the future will add a kind of an adapter that we can unscrew off here, so we can use a low pressure inflator, but unfortunately at the moment they haven't done that, so we've only got this oral inflation. So personally, when I do use this, I only use it when I'm on open circuit, because that's the only time I really want to orally inflate the BCD, the SMB. As we move up, we've got another overpressure valve on there, again with a usual dump cord, so we can dump from it and it will dump on the way up. As we come up the SMB all the way to the top, we've got the Apex logo on there, which is actually reflective itself. so any light or anything on there will reflect off. And we've also got reflective tape on both sides of the SMB. We've also got some grommets at the end of the SMB to allow us to clip, we can clip torches off on there, we can zip tie a glow stick on there, and we can also clip our wet nurse off there if there's any reason we want to get a message to the surface. We can do with that SMB, with the grommets on the end. The other nice thing about the Apex SMB, as opposed to all the other SMBs, it comes in a plastic-free packaging, so it comes in this nice little cardboard box. Makes it really nice for us retailers. We can hang it straight on our shelves. Instead of hanging it off the D-ring of the SMB, makes it look a bit nice and tidy, and obviously it's good for the environment as well. So moving on to our last SMB, we have the Halcyon SMB, which we all know is favoured by some of the diving community we have. Again, we've got our bungee loop on the end. The D-ring the same as the other ones. It's a smaller D-ring, so it's a little bit harder to get the bolt snap through. As we come up, we've got the Halcyon logo and the information on there as well. This SMB is a 1 metre SMB, 1 metre by 12 centimetres, so still quite small. Again, it's one of our one breath SMBs. This SMB does come in a couple of styles from Halcyon, but this is our preferred style, where it's got the OPV and the oral inflation nipple on there, that we can also use a low pressure inflator on there. This one you can buy with just a standard oral inflation like the Apex one, but we always try and prefer, like I said earlier, we always try and have one that we can use both on. Again, another OPV on there, and as we come up, we've actually got nothing on the end of this SMB, so it's just pure orange SMB. There's no reflective tape on there or anything like that. Another kind of key feature I always look for when I'm searching for SMBs, and this is one of the things that I've always found with a Halcyon one, is as you can see on the side here, we've got the welded area here, and we've got this black tape on the sides. This black tape is the protective tape, but they only put it on one side. So what I find is in my pocket, when it's rolled up in my pocket, rubbing against the edge of my pocket, rubbing against any other metal items I've got in my pocket. This side here, without the tape, I tend to get small puncture holes in there quite a fair bit. So most of my SMBs that I have got, I've all got Aquashore all up one side, just to kind of cover up the pin holes all the way up the side from where it's been rubbing on things. With the Halcyon and the Scuba Force, these, like you can see, they've both got the black tape on one side and nothing on that side. But the Apex one, they've kind of thought about it and listened to what divers have told them, and they've got the bonded seam on each side, and then they've also got that black tape on there to stop any abrasions on there and making small puncture holes on there. So out of the three SMBs, price wise, we've got the Scuba Force that is the cheapest, which is $42.61. We've got the Apex SMB that comes in at £75, and then we've got the Halcyon one that comes in at a whopping £95. All these SMBs come in various colours, so the Apex and the Scuba Force both come in orange or yellow. The Halcyon comes in orange, yellow, and as Halcyon say it, shocking pink. So the ladies all tend to like this one, so we sell quite a few of these to the lady divers who just want a nice pink SMB, and I've also sold a couple of these to blokes as well, just because they might like a bit of orange, bit of pink kit on with them as well. Out of the 1 metre SMBs for myself, I always tend to go for the cheapest in these ones, because I tend to be teaching quite a lot in quarries and tend to be using these quite a lot. So having an expensive one like the Halcyon one, I found kind of durability wise, it's the cheaper one is as durable as the Halcyon one. So because I end up cycling out my SMBs quite a lot, I always tend to go for the cheaper one. So I always go for the Scuba Force option. As like I said, it's a lot cheaper. It's got the same features as the Halcyon one, so there's not really much in it between them. So for me, it'll be the Scuba Force one that I choose for my normal diving. Okay, moving on to our bigger SMBs. We've only got two contenders in this one, as these are the two we've narrowed down at Dive Master Scuba. So we'll kick off with the Halcyon one. So this is kind of one of my most favoured Halcyon ones out of the range of Halcyon SMBs. There's quite a few in the Halcyon range. So like you've got the Big Dam SMB, you've got this one here which is a super slim, and you've got the 1 metre SMBs. And they're all come in different types and variants between each one, depending what you want on that SMB. So like I said, this is the super slim SMB. So it's a 1.8 SMB in length, but it's only 12 centimetres wide. So you get a really nice long length in there. so it sticks out nice and high over big swells. But it's not too wide that it doesn't fit in a pocket, so you haven't got a big SMB swinging off your side or anything like that. You can get it in your pocket, which I really prefer when we are diving. As you can see from here, this SMB comes with a single-ended bolt snap on the end. Myself, I'm not a massive fan of having single-ended bolt snaps on the end, because I tend to get a lot of divers just automatically putting the line straight through the eye of the bolt snap itself, whereas we should really be tying onto the actual main eye of the SMB that's actually attached to the SMB. The only reason, because the line can then jump out of the actual eye, the top eye gate of the SMB, whereas here it's got nowhere to go at all. Moving up, we've got a nice long stretch of material. I don't honestly know why the manufacturers have put these long tails on them. For me, it just tends to get in the way. I normally end up cutting mine off and taking it to the cobblers and cutting it down really short, so then I don't got to worry about this long piece of material on there. Again, we've got our piece of bungee that holds it all together, so that can go over the top on there. With this SMB, I always found the bungees a little bit too long, which kind of benefits me a little bit. I always put a little small knot in the end, so then I've got a little loop at the end that I can get my finger through when I'm wearing my dry gloves and pull it over, just like the Apex. You've got the little tab that's designed to be on there as well. As we unravel this SMB, again with the Halcyon logo, as you can see, it's a welded bond, and we've only got that one strip of black taping on the edge. So again, you do get that abrasion wearing on that side, and get puncture holes in the side of the SMB. We've got our inflation nipple on there again, so all inflated with our low pressure inflator, our standard overpressure valve with the pull cord on it. And as we unravel this SMB, first thing we've got is we've got a clear material on here that we can slide rolled up wet note in there, so if we need to communicate anything to the boats on the surface, we can roll a wet note in there, slide it in there. We can also put a glow stick in there, and I've seen some people put torches in there in the past as well, to light up the SMB on the surface for night dives. We've got a solus reflective tape on both sides, so that comes over both sides, and as you move towards the end of the SMB, you've got the tape on the end, so no posh grommets or anything on there, so we can attach things a little bit easier. Roll this one back up. So that is our Halcyon Super Slim SMB. So moving on to our second big SMB that we use here, or recommend here at Dive Master Scuba, we've got our Morris XR SMB. So Morris XR SMB is a 1.8 meter long SMB, but the actual inflation space is only 1.4, so it's a little bit less to inflate the SMB, which is a little bit nice. You haven't got to use as much gas to inflate it, but it is as long as the Halcyon itself. A little bit wider than the Halcyon SMB, so a little bit tougher to get in the pocket. It's another 2 centimeters wider, so that's 15 centimeters. A little bit wider than the Halcyon itself. So really, you don't really notice it that much in the pockets, but some people like smaller the better, really. Bungee loop on the end, again, to hold the rolled up SMB in there, and we've got that long leash with a D-ring on the end to attach your spool or reel to the SMB, or a bolt snap if you're just clipping it off in the pocket. Moving up, we've got our inflation nipple again, and our dump cord. This one's got a nice low profile dump cord on it, dump valve on it here, so when it's rolling up, it's nice and flat, as opposed to kind of stuck up and pushing out on the SMB, so it does roll up in a nice circle. As we move up the SMB, we've got our Morris XR logo, bit of branding on there, sticks out for the boat skippers to see when we're out at sea. As we roll up the SMB, we've got reflective tape, the solus reflective tape, again on both sides of the SMB itself, and then at the top we've got a clear window, same as the Halcyon SMB, to add in our wet notes or light sticks or a torch if you can get your torch in there as well. So in terms of the two SMBs, I'm just going to roll this up, sorry. So, in terms of the two SMBs, on the bigger SMBs, we've got the Halcyon Super Slim, and we've got the Morris XR regular SMB. Both come in orange and yellow, and then the Halcyon does come in the shocking pink, as Halcyon say, also. Price difference between these two, you've got the Halcyon coming in at 133 and then Mars XR coming in at 71, so quite a big price difference. Out of the two, I'll choose the Mars XR one. Again, just on price, the durability is exactly the same, materials is pretty much exactly the same. And again, another winning factor for me is having the double tape on each side, whereas the Halcyon has only got the taping on one edge, so I do find I get small puncture holes on the Halcyon a little bit more than I would do on the Mars XR. So kind of coming back to all of the SMBs, like I said, for the big one we've got the Mars XR SMB, and for our little one we have our Scuba Force, oh sorry that was Apex one, we've got our Scuba Force 1 meter SMB for training use in the smaller SMBs. So thank you for listening, guys. If any of you have any questions regarding this, please drop us a message on Facebook or drop us an email. These SMBs are all available in our online store, so head over to divemasterscuba.com and you can find these all on our online store. And thank you for listening. We'll catch you soon.